Hi, guys. Welcome again to another podcast episode. I'm sorry it has taken a minute to record this episode or to record other episodes because, well, we've been busy, but that's not an excuse. And I promise from this one, we would have much more episodes. Today, we're going to be talking about something that we had spoken about before in one of our videos. But I just thought that it would be better to bring an expert to shed more light and just so that you hear from the horse's mouth how non-residents can get mortgage financing to buy a property in Dubai. And so today with me, I brought the wolf of the mortgage industry. One of the
Thank
very
you.
best.
Thank you.
We have Kuram with us today, and Kuram is a mortgage consultant, and he has been a mortgage consultant for about 15 years.
A good part of 15 years.
Thereabouts. And Kuram has worked with Standard Chartered Bank. He has also worked with Dubai Islamic Bank. So this kind of gives us a balance to say that Kuram has very good experience with the normal mortgage and then the Islamic mortgage as well, which is something that we'll be talking about. And it's something that a lot of people have asked us about. Oh, how do we go about non-residents financing? I'm not in Dubai. I do not want to live in Dubai. I'm in the US. I'm a resident of the US, but I want to own a property in Dubai and I want to get financing for this. Or I'm in Nigeria or in Kenya and I just want to get a property in Dubai. However, I want financing for this. So I thought that we bring Kuram today and then just run us through the process of getting financing to buy a property in Dubai. So welcome, Kuram.
Thank you, Halimat, for having me.
Thank you
and
so
for
much.
the extraordinary long introduction. Thank you for that. You've been
I thought it was
too-
necessary to just make them understand that. I mean,
Thank you.
you're one of the best, if not the best, in terms of mortgage financing in Dubai at the moment.
I have to say that I agree with you, and it's not a single opinion.
Yay! Okay. Okay, so Kuram, real quick, can you just introduce yourself? I know I've said some things about you,
Sure.
but it would be good if you just tell us about yourself.
Sure.
Really.
I'll give the listeners and viewers a brief.
Okay.
Like you mentioned, my name's Kuram, and I was born and brought up in Dubai.
Okay.
I've been here my whole life, so I have literally seen the transition of Dubai from what it was to one of the top number one cities in the world,
Yeah.
without any doubt. I've been connected to the banking and mortgage industry for a good part of 15 years.
Yeah.
I started with banking with Standard Chartered. Eventually, down the line, I joined Dubai Islamic Bank,
Yeah.
where I was doing business development and product development
Okay.
for mortgages again.
Okay.
And after a certain point, I felt like I need to get into consulting now. I guess it was just age catching up, and the dollar's not catching up quick enough with my age. So I decided to come to the other side of the table,
Yeah.
what we refer to in this part of the world also as aggregators.
Yeah.
So I became a mortgage aggregator
Okay.
for all the banks in this country.
Oh, nice.
As far as locally financed mortgages or properties are concerned, I represent a company called Hamilton International Mortgages.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been with them for over 6 years now.
I remember how I met you was I was trying to look for mortgages because we had a lot of American residents or
Yes.
Americans reaching out to us to say, oh, we want mortgage financing. I was trying to look for the best options for them.
Sure.
And I contacted a company named American Mortgages.
That's correct.
And they
Yes.
had referred me and they said, you know what, if you are looking for any type of financing, just contact this person.
Yes.
He's a partner in Dubai and he would be in the best position, to just guide you through that. I remember meeting you through that. And
Absolutely.
so I understand that you're also partner with some other mortgage banks, not even in Dubai.
Oh, absolutely. America Mortgages, which actually falls under the umbrella group of GMG,
Yeah.
which is Global Mortgage Group, is founded and run by a very close and dear friend of mine called Robert. And me and Robert collaborated some years ago. GMG basically provides mortgage facilities to almost any country around the world,
Oh, nice.
all major cities. And Dubai was one area which has always been booming, but they didn't have a lot of accessibility to Dubai, I guess for geographic reasons or other factors. So Robert connected with me and said, why don't you be the face and voice of global mortgages when it comes to Dubai?
Yeah.
So yes, like I mentioned, locally I operate with Hamilton International Mortgages, but when it comes to global financing, and we're not just talking about real estate, we're talking about private jets, we're talking about
Nice.
luxury yachts,
Nice.
and real estate. These are the only three products that I'm interested in and I work with. We do it globally also in all countries through GMG, America Mortgages, Jellyfish Capital. These are some of the names. Depends on the client and the location, the area of, the part of the world where he's from.
So everything you have just said has given me much more confidence, and I hope the viewers too, to know that you are grounded when it comes to mortgage financing. You are the guy, the
Well,
it guy.
I'm almost pushing 50 now, Halimat. So I don't know anything else. I pretty much can only do mortgages.
Okay, nice. So that means you're the right guy to speak to.
That's the expertise. Yeah.
Okay. So you said you've been in Dubai for since you were born, and it
Yeah.
means that you've seen the Dubai real estate market transition from what it used to be to what it is now.
Absolutely.
So do you mind just giving us a few pointers to why non-residents, why you think the real estate market in Dubai is beneficial to non-residents?
Right. So obviously, it's public knowledge that the residents are all indulging in real estate in Dubai.
Yeah.
Today, anybody who is earning a minimum salary of 10,000 in Dubai, all the way up to 200,000 per month, is investing in buying a property. People don't want to pay rents anymore.
True.
People don't see the science behind paying rent, which actually means that you're paying somebody else's mortgage for him. Instead, people are opting to buy properties themselves, live here, work here, and pay their mortgages. But a major chunk of the business, which is not always very familiar with public knowledge, is non-resident mortgages.
Yeah.
Out of the 25 plus banks in Dubai, there are only, I suppose today, there are only 5 or 6 banks that do non-resident mortgages.
Okay.
So there's not too much of hype in it, although there's a lot of demand in it. Majority of my portfolio involves non-residents. I like working with non-residents. It's really interesting when you're working with people from different parts of the world. Sometimes countries I've not even heard of, or names that I can't even pronounce. But they contact me from all over the world and they say, we've heard a lot about Dubai, or we've been to Dubai recently for a holiday and we saw, ABC, and we feel we want to invest here and live here. The primary and the most important, although there are many reasons, but the most important reason why non-residents invest in Dubai is Dubai is a tax-free zone.
I was just going to say that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I was just going to say that.
I mean, in the last 5 years, Halimat, I've traveled to more than 20 countries. I've been to the western part of the world, the eastern part of the world. I've been just about to all the major cities in collaboration with GMG, and also for personal, some recreation, pleasure time. And I realized that Dubai is absolutely tax-free when it comes to indulging in property, owning a property, getting a mortgage. I mean, we'll get into the details, the nitty-gritty, sure, but this is the first thing that interests people. So if you speak to someone in Europe today, or if you speak to someone from the UK or even the US, from where you connected to me initially, and the moment you tell them tax-free, that's your USP. You don't even need to convince them more. The moment you explain the dynamics to them and prove to them that actually this is a tax-free investment, which you and then your children and their children and so on and so forth can benefit from, there's nothing much more to convince them.
I remember that the first time when we had posted that video about non-residents, that there are some people that are in Dubai at the moment and don't even know that as non-residents, they can get financing options. So there was this client that reached out to us immediately. He saw the video on TikTok. I think it was TikTok, yes. And then he just called and said, are you in the office right now? I'm like, yes, I'm in the office. And he came to the office. He's like, I've been in Dubai for 3 years and I do not even know that I can get financing as a non-resident, although he's a resident,
Sure.
but his business is in Australia. So he just comes to Dubai and then goes out of Dubai. But the large chunk of his income comes from Australia. And so he was trying to apply as an Australian resident,
Sure.
I beg your pardon.
Sure.
And he was so shocked. However, he wanted an Islamic mortgage.
Not a problem.
So if you don't mind, do you mind shedding light on what the difference is between the normal mortgage, conventional mortgage,
Sure.
and the Islamic
Sure.
mortgage?
Right. So pretty much in most parts of the world now, there are two kinds of mortgages.
Yeah.
The ancient age-old conventional mortgages
Yeah.
and Islamic mortgages, which basically became more and more popular after the 1980s. We can go on and on if I go into depth, but then the entire podcast will become about these two things. So I'll give you the bullet points. Basically, the word interest does not exist in any Islamic mortgage documentation,
Right.
legal contracts, application form whatsoever.
Yeah.
The word interest is taboo in Islam,
Yeah.
and for a lot of believers or practicing Muslims, even though they know subconsciously that they are coming to a bank to borrow money, which they will pay back, but they don't want to use the word interest. Instead, they offer an Islamic bank because the Islamic structure of a mortgage doesn't really charge you interest; it charges you profit.
Right.
They refer to it as profit because there's an entire product of maybe about 5,000 pages written down for this sort of structure,
Okay.
where the money that the bank lends you to buy the property in mention is not actually funds that they're lending you, but it's more of a business collaboration, a business prospect with the Islamic bank, where you're entering into a business collaboration with them. And just like two business partners, it could be you and me tomorrow, we might decide to start a business together. So we will share the profit and the loss of it. This is how the Islamic structure of it works. Obviously, this would not explain everything to your listeners. There's lots more to understand on that. And obviously, I'm available always for anyone who wants a one-on-one session on this.
Yeah.
But at surface, I can tell you that this is the difference in Islamic and conventional mortgages.
So in conventional mortgages, you have it clearly stated this is the interest rate you're going to be
Yes.
paying. But
Yes.
for the Islamic mortgage, there's nothing like interest or
No, the word doesn't exist. The reference to the word doesn't exist. And in principle, in essence, you are not paying interest to the bank. You are only sharing a profit loss business transaction with the bank.
Okay, that's interesting. But I'm very sure that the documentation that you require for the Islamic mortgage and the conventional mortgage is like pretty much the same
It's
thing.
absolutely the same, 100 by 100. The documentation basically is your KYC documents,
Okay.
Identity of the client, his background checks, World Bank checks, things like that. And then your income documents, which the bank would need to establish how much of mortgage can you get, how much can you repay every month, things like that.
Is there any minimum income that, okay, so for example, as a salaried person, is there any minimum income you should earn per month? And if you're a business owner, is there like a minimum amount of money that should be in your closing balance monthly, daily, or what's the income structure like in terms of, yeah.
So the first part of your question, the minimum income for a salaried resident of this country keeps fluctuating every now and then.
Okay.
But as of today, it's 8,580
Right.
to be absolutely precise.
Okay.
If you earn that sort of an income, you are eligible for a mortgage.
Mortgage,
How
okay.
much and for how long, again, depends on other liabilities, if you have any, and your age. And since we mentioned liabilities, I'd like to add a quick, interesting point that for some reason, majority of the citizens in Dubai do not consider credit cards a liability. I don't know why. If they borrow a car loan or a personal loan or a furniture loan, and I ask them, "Do you have any liabilities?" They say, "Yeah, I've got a car. I financed my Range Rover, and I took a personal loan to do ABC, but I have no other loans." And then I ask them, "Well, okay, so that means you have no credit
credit
cards?"
card.
And they say, "No, well, I've got 3 credit cards." So little known to a lot of people for some reason is credit cards directly contribute towards your monthly liability when it comes to income calculation and liability calculation.
Yeah.
Then the second thing they tell me is, yes, I've got 3 cards, but I never used them. I activated them and I left them in my wardrobe. So they're just emergency standby. So I feel I have no liability. But the thing is, once you've got a credit card issued from one of the banks in Dubai, and if you have activated the card, automatically every month 5% of that card's limit is subconsciously counted as a liability towards your income.
Oh, wow.
You don't use
Even
the
I
card.
didn't know that.
A lot of people don't know that. So you don't use the card, so you don't pay back. And if you're not delaying paying back, you're not paying charges, agreed. But while that card just sits in your wallet or in your drawer, activated, if the limit of the card is 100,000, every month 5,000 is calculated towards your income as a liability if you go to apply for a new loan after that, a car loan, a mortgage, whichever. So a lot of times we have to tell clients to make them eligible for the mortgage that they want. We ask them to reduce the credit card limits of the cards that they actually don't want, but they've got there.
Wow, that's really useful information. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, but that's for residents. Now, for non-residents, is there any income limit, or I don't think limit is the word, but
Right.
I mean, is there any particular benchmark in terms of income or earnings that
Right.
banks impose?
Right. I'll come to that as soon as I answer the second part of your last question.
Yeah.
So when it comes to business owners who are residents, which we refer to as self-employed
Yeah.
in the banking industry, As such, there's no minimum, milestone that he should be making this much of business a month
Okay.
for him to be eligible, because your income in a business is always variable.
Yeah.
It's hard for the bank to put their foot down and say, oh, he should be earning 50,000 a month. Maybe he doesn't need a mortgage that requires that much income.
Yeah.
So what a typical bank will do is they'll look at your last 6 or 12 months business transactions.
Right.
They look at your business transactions, they look at your VAT returns, they look at your audited financials if you're auditing them, or if you have in-house financials. Based on that, they understand the health of your company, the financial health, what I mean is, and then they come back with their offer. Like, based on your income, which you're making in the last 6 months or 12 months, and your liabilities, if you have any, including credit cards, they will tell you that this is what we can offer you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's always a little more cumbersome when it comes to businesses.
Okay.
Salaried is the most straightforward. This is my employer. This is my salary. I've been in the job for 6 months.
Yeah.
ABC, that's it. You're good to go.
And then your contracts maybe to see how far the job is you're going to be on that job for.
Yes. So fortunately, in this country, most of the employment is not contract based. It's typically a 2-year employment visa.
Okay.
Yeah. Very few sectors of very few businesses have contract based employees. Could be in the airline. Could be someone particularly in the oil and gas who they brought down for a year or two.
Yeah.
But for the most of it, for 98% of salaried residents, they're all on a 2-year employment visa,
Okay.
which is taken for face value.
Okay.
So if you joined your firm 6 months ago and you came to me for a mortgage, from what I see, from where I'm sitting, you have another 18 months of employment with your employer
Yeah.
before it's renewed,
Yeah.
or before you change your job, or
Yeah.
some other some other incident happens.
Okay.
So I have to take that on face value, the employment visa.
Okay. 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 So now for non-residents.
Right, the interesting part.
Exactly, the interesting part. Because I feel like for residents, it's pretty straightforward. If you're a resident of any country, you kind of have safe thoughts, or you have it at the back of your mind, like, okay, if I go into any bank, I'm a resident of this country, I can get financing. So it's pretty straightforward. But for non-residents, for example, I didn't know until I got into Dubai that non-residents could get a mortgage.
Oh, absolutely, they can.
And I didn't know that, the documentation and requirements are not so much.
Super simple. In some cases, you'll be shocked, even simpler than documents for residents.
Because actually, we got a mortgage, a pre-approval for a client recently, and the pre-approval came in 3 days.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that.
And he's not a resident of Dubai.
No, he's not. He would have had a clean profile,
Yes.
good compliance record, no major liabilities. The property price would be falling within his budget of income. There you go.
And we got a pre-approval for 2 million. And I was shocked. The clients were shocked. Everybody in the office thought, okay, yes, we would get it, but maybe it would take like a while, 1 month, 2 weeks, back and forth with the bank. And in like 2 or 3 days, we had gotten the pre-approval, and I was really surprised. So I thought, this is something that our listeners, our clients would benefit from. We should let people know about it. So if you can just run us through what the documentation, the requirements are, what the process is like, how long it takes,
Sure.
and all of that. Yes,
Okay.
please.
Right. So let's start with a simple blanket statement that every non-resident from every part of the world is eligible for a mortgage in Dubai.
Regardless of country.
Regardless of country, regardless of anything. The only reason his case would not be approved could be financial issues in his profile, could be geographic issues, could be compliance issues. But as such, anyone, just like Dubai is open to the entire world to come and reside and live in and migrate to, just like that, the banks in Dubai are open to any non-resident from any part of the world.
Okay.
And I know what you're thinking at the back of your mind, that there are some countries or some people who told me because I'm from X place, I couldn't get a mortgage.
Yes.
I'll explain that science to you in detail today also, which will be really good for you and the listeners.
Yes, please.
So this misconception in the market that, banks are not financing these people or that people, this will be cleared.
Okay.
But let's come back to the major question first. So non-residents can, and today, the maximum finance a non-resident can get on a ready property is 65%. Yeah.
So as a non-resident, you would have to finance 35%.
Correct.
Okay.
So imagine now. Let's take any typical country. Choose a country. Choose your favorite country, and just tell me any country.
Nigeria, of course.
Excellent, lovely country, great people, good food.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you're sitting in Nigeria, you're on an employment profile or a business profile, and you've always been hearing about Dubai, seeing stuff online, because the entire world is, everybody knows Dubai.
Yeah.
And you decide, let me start, my investment portfolio there. I've already got one property in Nigeria. Let me buy another apartment over there and rent it out and see how that goes before I buy the second, third, or fourth. So you can contact me or any of the banks or consultants in Dubai and get your finance options. 65% the bank will cover you
Wow.
as long as your income justifies it,
Yeah.
your income in Nigeria. Like I said, as long as your compliance approval is clear and there's no issues, you'll need to only put down 35%.
Okay.
Let's take an easy number for discussion. Let's say you're buying a studio in downtown for $1 million.
Yes,
Downtown
please.
is one of the hottest areas in Dubai.
Yeah.
No sooner you'll buy a studio and it's rented out already,
Yeah.
and you've got rental income,
Yeah.
which again I'll add has no taxes. It's tax-free
Exactly,
rental income
exactly.
completely. So your realtor, someone who's an expert in the industry like Halimat, gets in touch with the gentleman and you send him some options. He looks at a studio, he finalizes, he says this one for 1 million looks good. All he's got to put down is 350,000 or at max 400,000,
Yeah.
depending on again his income and things like that and the bank discretion. Once the mortgage is approved for 60%, let's say 600,000 in this case, and the transaction reaches its conclusion and the title deed is issued in his name as an owner,
Yeah.
you're going to rent it out the next day or the next week out, and a typical tenant comes in and pays you in 1 or 2 yearly checks in
Yeah.
downtown. This typically means that client from Nigeria never has to really put in any more money in that property. The property was for 1 million,
Yeah.
but he paid only 40% and became a landlord.
Yeah.
He's living now still in Nigeria, or maybe he's moved to the States, maybe he's traveling around the world in a yacht, it doesn't matter. In Dubai, there is a freehold residential property in downtown, the hottest area of Dubai, which is leased out for a year, 2, 3 years. And let's keep in mind, I'm not even talking about short-term rentals in Dubai, which is between 12 to 15% ROI.
Yes.
I'm actually talking still about long-term, which could be between 7 to 9%
Yes,
in
that's
downtown.
correct. That's correct.
And even with that 7 to 9%, your mortgage installments per month are covered. You never pay anything more to the bank.
So you're saying that the rental income that you will generate from that property pays off your
In
mortgage.
99% of all the cases that I've sat with. 99%. So you paid 40%, you bought a property, you got the title in your name, you got a really nice tenant. Now the tenant's paying you rent twice a year, semi-year rent. He's paying you in 2 checks. That check goes into the same bank's mortgage account
Yeah.
where you've taken the lending
Yeah.
from. And every month, the mortgage installment just keeps getting deducted from that money that's parked there. Of course, you do have an option to move that money. The bank doesn't want you to park 6 months or 1 year's installments together. But for the most of it, non-residents don't like to touch that money. The mindset is that I'm an investor. I live in another country. I bought a lovely property in Dubai. I got a great mortgage for 60%. And every month I have a mortgage installment to pay. And that's getting deducted from my rent,
Yeah.
which is in the account. So I don't want to move that money. I don't want to touch it. I just want to enjoy peaceful landlordship. Along the way, while this is going on, this process, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, you're also monitoring the market, because obviously now your interests are also in Dubai. You have a property here.
Yeah.
So you're monitoring the Dubai market even more than before. And suddenly Halimat calls him and says, hey, I've got an offer on your studio for 1.4 million. From a new investor who's come to the market now. And this is the current going for your studio. You could choose to not take it and continue renting and continue being a landlord. Or what 50% of people do is you will sell it for a 40% capital appreciation.
Yeah.
Again, completely tax-free in this country only. So you bought it for 1 million, you sold it for 1.4, you got 400,000, which is a little more than 100,000 US dollars.
Yeah.
Tax-free.
And you're not paying any tax on that.
You're not paying anything. So in essence, what's happened now? You got 40% capital appreciation, plus you got back your initial 40%
Yes.
down payment.
Yes.
So now you got 80% in your hand.
And that's not to talk about the rents that you've already gotten.
Exactly. I'm not even talking about that because that's paid the bank, right?
Exactly.
So you've got 80% funds back in your account. I'm being conservative. So you've got 80% back. Now you contact a mortgage consultant again and say, listen, I have this much I have 800,000 with me. So I'm looking for a property again where you give me 60% and I put down 40%. If you have 800,000 dirhams with you as down payment, this time you can target a 2 million plus property,
Yes, that's
which
correct.
means that either you're going back to downtown for a one or two bedroom, a two bedroom if you're lucky nowadays, or you're moving to the marina side and buying something else. So you see how your investments in Dubai just keep multiplying, whereas there's minimal contribution from your side as a non-resident.
I mean, this is
It's real.
interesting. It's real. Yes, I know, because it's something that I have done. I have seen is possible. It's very interesting, and I'm hoping that it's insightful for our listeners. But we're going to go back again
Please.
to what the requirements are.
Okay.
I mean, much as it sounds very interesting, I'm sure there's some people, like you said, their financial reports and all of that. There's some people that do not still qualify to get mortgages.
Right.
So what are the requirements? I mean, the most typical requirements. We're not going to go in depth now because
You don't need to. The requirements are very simple.
exactly
We
the
don't even need to go in
basics,
depth. It's
exactly.
very basic. So again, your KYC documents, know your customer documents,
Yeah.
passport copy and ID copy of your country,
Okay.
which the bank runs through their national and international database to make sure that there's no red flags of any sort on your name.
Right.
One. With that, they need your income documents. If you tell me you're employed with a company in Nigeria, then I need your last 6 months salary bank statements to
Right.
make sure you're getting your salary on time every month. There's no minimum salary when it comes to non-residents as such, but the bank would like to see an average balance in your bank account of 25,000 dirhams a month. 25,000 dirhams.
So 25,000 dirhams in dollars, about $8,000.
Yeah, so to make it safe, to put it safely, let's say 10,000 dirhams, $10,000 should be your average balance
Okay.
in your account a month,
Okay.
right? So you've given me your bank statements, and then when I mentioned this to someone yesterday on the phone, she laughed. She was wondering why I asked for this. We need your latest amenity bill of your residence in Nigeria, your electric or water bill.
Why?
It's very fundamental. You're a non-resident. You live in another country. For this explanation, I won't say Nigeria. I'll speak generally.
Okay.
You live in another country. You're a non-resident. A bank in Dubai is lending you 60% on a property. You're gonna take the mortgage, sign, take the title, and go back. What if, for some reason on the planet, you're not able to make your mortgage payments, or you disappear, or the bank can't get in touch with you? There could be a genuine reason.
Yeah.
But I won't know until I'm contacting you as a bank. And if there's no response to the telephones, I'll have no option other than getting in touch with my partners in that country and saying, could you just visit this respectful client to his residence and find out what's wrong? Why isn't he responding to us?
Okay.
That's why we need the bill, because your residence address is on it.
So just proof of residence.
Proof
then.
of residence, that's it. It's a
Okay.
very
Alas.
fundamental and basic thing. There's
Okay,
no big
okay.
science in it.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
and now some customers, when I mention this to them, they always give me one standard reply, and I give them a standard explanation. I'll give it to your viewers. They say, but why is the bank bothered if you're just giving me 60%, but you're owning 100% of my property in the title? So if I don't pay, or if I have an issue financially, you can just take the property and you have 100%. Now, what people need to understand is a lending house, like a bank, is in the business of lending money, not buying or auctioning over your properties.
Yeah.
They're not interested in doing that.
Yeah.
They do that because they have no choice. When you leave no option for them,
Yeah.
then finally it goes into forfeiture and auction. But ideally, if I was a bank, I would like to lend you money and get it back with interest, or I'd like to make an Islamic collaboration with you and get back profit.
Yeah.
If I decided to apply the option, the logic of clients saying, "Hey, you have the property with me," eventually I would end up with 1,000 properties every year.
Which is true.
Where clients stop paying because his wife spent the money on shopping, or because he bought the new Ferrari, so he doesn't have money left. What am I going to do with those properties? Then I'll have to open a property management company, either to manage them, or I'll have to open a property auction company, and that's
Okay.
not my business.
Yeah.
I'm in the business of lending finance.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
And
That
coming
makes
back to your
absolutely-
important question, so the documentation that's just it. Passport ID, income documents. If you're working with a firm, a letter from your employer, a general letter. If you have your own business, a copy of your business license. That's it. It can't get simpler than this. And within 3 days of getting the documents, we can tell you, from my office, we can tell you our feelers. What is your case like? Are you going to get the mortgage or not? Because we've been doing this for 15 years now.
Okay.
And, pretty much we've got credit analysts sitting in our office, just like maybe not as superior as the ones in the banks, but we definitely know what to look for in documents. So we could give you feelers. We could say, hey, we looked at your documents, and out of the 6 months, 2 months we see a little lower salary coming in. What's the reason? And the client says, well, I'd taken an advance before Christmas, and my company's deducting that now. Then we would ask you for pay slips of that month, those 2 months.
Okay.
Because they would show salary 1,000, deduction 200, balance paid 800. That would collaborate with the bank statements.
Okay.
So this sort of exercise our office does, to minimize the time in the bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I was going to ask another question just now, and it just keeps my mind. I'm so sorry.
You'll come
Okay,
back.
but typically, what's the interest rates for non-residents?
That's the scary question nowadays. So until a year ago, if you had this chat with me 1 year ago, non-residents were getting rates as low as 4%, even lower.
Wow.
Yeah. But today, the absolute minimum for a non-resident is 6.7%, which can be fixed for 3 years. So 3 years, for 3 years, nobody will touch that rate, whether the market fluctuates up or down. I'd love to share the name of the bank also with you, but I won't do that because so far I don't see any royalty checks coming from them. So yes,
Okay, so 6.7%.
Yes.
And then for the Islamic mortgage,
it's pretty much the same. 6.7% profit. Yeah.
not interest rates
Yes,
now.
yes.
And how long, what's the maximum in terms of duration
Okay.
that a mortgage lender can get the mortgage for?
So the typical duration is 25 years.
Okay.
Yeah, provided that your age as an expat or a resident is 65 at completion. So today, if I'm 40, which I'm not, I would get 25 years.
Okay.
But if I'm 50, I'll get 15 years.
15 years. Okay.
Only in the case of UAE nationals, Emiratis, we can stretch it to the age of 70.
Okay.
Yes, we can stretch it to the age of 70. In some cases, we've also managed to get them 30 years.
Oh, nice.
Well, for obvious reasons, they're nationals of the
Emirati,
country. So the banks
obviously.
have like 1,000% comfort level with them. You know,
Okay.
that's why.
Much as this sounds very interesting
Okay.
for me as well, and for anybody that's going to be listening to this podcast, I would like to know what are the risks, because when someone wants to sell something to you, they'll make it sound very interesting, like
I agree.
no, it's just straightforward. Just
agree.
bring your documentation and then you get the mortgage. But what are the likely risks involved in getting a non-resident mortgage or financing?
Right. So Halimat, the answer to your question, the only likely risk, and it doesn't have to do with non-residents, it has to do with anybody on the planet,
Yeah.
is the simple general risk you would have in any business prospect or any business transaction. Today you're getting a mortgage to buy a property. Tomorrow you might start a restaurant, and in that lane there might be 9 pizza parlors who are doing great, and you open the 10th one and for some reason you won't do great.
Yeah.
So who would we blame? So every business comes with its risk component. Every business. So the key before you make your decision is to put the risk component on one side and the positive sides on the other side. When it comes to Dubai, when it comes to properties in Dubai, mortgages in Dubai, I assure you, this component on this side is always heavier. The risk component is very light. Always.
So you don't think that non-residents or residents are privy to or are open to any kind of...
The only one risk which everyone is open to is, let's take a quick example. It happened right when I was in the middle of the storm in 2008, when there was a world market crash on the property market.
Yeah.
Now, people might talk like they can predict that sort of thing. I never say that. I can't predict the future. I wish I could, but I cannot, or both of us would be interviewing in Hawaii right now, not here. So I don't want to sound like I can predict the future. But what I want to simply tell you is, who can offer you the perfect plan? Nobody. If there is a worldwide crisis or another pandemic of some sort, breaks out, just like we keep seeing on Hollywood all the time. This last time it was COVID. This time maybe people start becoming zombies and start eating each other. So who can predict that? So what am I going to tell you? Like, yes, when the zombies start eating us, the property market will crash because nobody will live in their houses. People will be running into shelters, bomb shelters. So that's the only thing associated with any business. If there's a worldwide crisis, Dubai is part of the world pretty much. And now actually the entire world is part of Dubai. Everybody is here.
True.
True. There was a time when we used to go out and tell people about Dubai, but it's not like that anymore. Now everybody comes here and people talk to me about Dubai. So other than that, I don't see any risks associated. Zero tax on complete capital appreciation, good rental returns, complete, absolute, complete lawful country, super safe, super safety. So let's take again. I don't want to use any names, but let's say I put Dubai on one side and I sell you something. I sell you a studio for 1 million, and you say it's a little steep, and I tell you, well, you can go to this X country, which is not so safe, but you'll get it for half the money, but it's not so safe there.
And then you pay taxes.
You might have corrupt. You have a lot of corruption there. You have to forget about the taxes. Taxes are government levied, legal, charges. I could tell you that there are hustlers come there who take money from you. People who will overcome your property and not leave. Things. Where would you choose to buy? You'll say, you know what? I'll spend the million, but I want it in a safe place,
Yeah.
where I can sleep peacefully.
Yeah.
You wouldn't spend half of that money there. It's simple mathematics, basics, nothing more. Dubai is super safe. The key to Dubai's success, the key to their growth, the key to the robust property market. You speak to anybody from any part of the world. When you tell him Dubai, he feels, yeah, it's one of the safest places. If I buy a property, and even if I don't go there and I rent it out, I know my tenant's not going to damage my property, or, take over, or, start a casino inside my property or something like that. And if I decide to go and live in the property myself, I know I'm super safe. My family is safe, my kids, my wife. I don't need to tell you, you're a girl, it's one of the safest places in the world. As long as this factor, and it will always be there, as long as this factor is on top of the list, there's nothing to worry about.
I know you say that you can't predict the future, but what are the current market trends for real estate? I know you do a lot of real estate investments and help a lot of clients.
Fortunately, I do, yeah.
Yes. So, what are the current market trends, and how safe is it for non-residents?
Again, see, Halimat, all market or all business trends follow business graph modules. They follow the same modules, which are north and south, up and down. Not trying to predict the future, but again, I could tell you that I only see Dubai's graph going north for a lot of reasons. There are geographic reasons. We all know about conflict in countries around us, close and far.
Yeah.
It's no surprise to any of us. It's no secret. All those people are coming to Dubai.
Yeah.
All right. Now, we started with something called investor visas some years ago. Then, as more and more people started pouring in, and a lot of foreign currency started coming in, foreign investments, the ruler put out golden visas to encourage more people and give them peace of mind and comfort.
Yeah.
That now, if you come and you buy a property in Dubai, you get a golden visa.
You get
So you're part of Dubai. You're part of the family. You're a citizen. You've got a golden visa for 10 years, renewable. That puts in more trust, more comfort in buyers. Non-residents, again. If you're a resident, you're already staying here. Someone like me who's a dinosaur, I've been here for 48 years, So when you tell me golden visa, I might think, yeah, it would be nice to have it. But when you tell a non-resident from a conflicting country, whose country is in conflict, that, hey, you can come here and get a golden visa, he says, I have to have it. I need to move my family and my money to a safe place.
And then just doesn't cover the buyer of the property. It covers the buyer, his wife, his kids, and now his parents.
Even his parents. So just imagine what sort of family ecosystem we're building here. So initially, it was just an investor visa for 2 years.
Exactly.
Today, if you're sitting in Nigeria, again, we'll speak about your lovely country.
Thank you.
And you tell a fellow Nigerian brother, listen, you can come here, buy a nice villa, a 3-bedroom townhouse or a villa. You can bring in your wife, you can bring in your 3 kids. They can go to the best schools.
Yeah.
And guess what? Since you're a nuclear family in Nigeria, you can also bring your parents here to live with them. What more does a person want? At the end of the day, everything comes down to just that. And also, about 5 years ago, the ruler announced that they're also giving out distinguished UAE national passports. Yes, to people who are of, a unique, gifted people like scientists, creators, maybe some sort of influencers also. Basically anyone who brings something new to Dubai, which can improvise and make better the life of people already here. Because you have to understand, everything stems from the leadership of this country.
Yeah.
The property market is just one of their businesses, just one of the things Dubai has to offer amongst many. But everything stems from the roots, from the leadership. And the leadership of this country, the UAE, is always looking for ways to make life comfortable for everybody. There's no distinction and there's no bias with anyone. They just look for reasons or technology or lifestyles to make it comfortable for you. So they're even offering that to people. I personally know someone who is on par to get a UAE national passport. He's an expat. He's from the subcontinent part of the world, and he's on his way to get that passport because he is bringing something extraordinary and unique to Dubai, which has never been there before. It's going to be out by next year, and then we can talk more about it. At this stage, I can't. But I mean, and he's super excited. He says that now I've got my belonging, I've got my home here. He already owns 2 properties here. Now he's gonna get the passport, and there you go.
So Dubai just pretty much opens his arms up to everybody. I mean, good-willing people that
Everybody.
want to come to Dubai, make money, open up a business, or get an
Absolutely.
employment.
They only want one thing in return. The only thing they ask is respect and follow the laws. That's it.
Finish. Yeah,
Nothing
I think
else.
I think I would have to agree with that.
I mean, let's not talk about the expense or the lifestyle of Dubai, because one, it's one of the most luxurious places in the world, and let's face it, if you want luxury, you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Right. It's the most digitally enhanced place of the world, where at the click of a button on your phone, not even your laptop anymore. I hardly carry a laptop anymore. Just got my phone. It's got everything on it. You've got apps. You've got everything that can happen with a button.
Yeah.
So you need to pay something for this, right? Because there are think tanks and there are people behind the curtain who are spending day and night to make this technology and bring it to you and adapt it into your life.
Yeah.
So we can't get away with everything and say, hey, but that's a little expensive, or that's a little higher than that other place I've been to. You can't find this kind of service anywhere in the world. The hospitality, the luxury, nowhere. I challenge you. Tell me about a country where you can find this sort of hospitality in the world.
Have you guys heard? So
Other than
in comment
Nigeria.
section, let's write.
Yeah.
Let's write what other countries you can find this kind of hospitality. I'm also interested. I mean, this
Exactly.
not to talk down on any country, but I'm really, really interested to know where we can find something like
Hospitality, comfort of life,
security.
luxury, super security. I mean, you said the golden word, security. So a lot of countries will give you hospitality, but not necessarily the security.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do if your family is not safe? What are you going to do with hospitality? What are you going to do with the waiters? What are you going to do with the people running errands for you if you're not safe? Safety, that's it. If you can get that in your ecosystem, everything else will follow.
I know that you had mentioned the financial strategy, or should I say investment? You just mentioned it in person, actually, but I picked that up. You had said something about buying a studio for 1 million and then reselling after a few years and then buying something else. And so what kind of investment strategy, I mean, would you advise non-residents? Would you advise buy and just keep renting out? Or would you say buy, rent out for a few years, get your return on investment for a few years, maybe 2 years, 18 months, and then resell? Because before we started this podcast, actually, you had told me about your friend
Correct.
that had bought a villa and then he sold
Right.
it after 18 months and he made some good money. So
Absolutely.
would you advise that as a non-resident, you buy, you rent out for a few years and you resell? I mean, that's what I would. But I don't want you to be partial and then just say
Sure.
you agree with me. But would you advise you buy, resell almost immediately, or buy, rent out for a few years and then resell?
See, the thing is, Halima, whatever scenarios you just mentioned in the last 1 minute, whether it's buying and reselling immediately, or buying and reselling in a few years, or buying and reselling after 18 months, like the friend I told you about before
Yeah.
we walked in, there's nothing wrong with any of these. They're all correct in Dubai.
True.
So it all depends on each person's individual capacity as to how long he can hold his capital in that property.
Yes.
So I could have 1 million dirhams with me, which I can only hold for a year. And then I need to flip it. I need to sell the property after a year, get my 1 million back, and take the profit home. Or I could have only 500,000, 500,000, but I can manage to park it somewhere for 5 years. So I would just buy a small studio in one of the, slightly further areas of Dubai from the main city. And I would say, you know what? I'm not worried about this 500,000. Let the market go up, come down, go up, come down. I'm going to enjoy the rent for 5 years, which will at least cover 50% of my investment.
Yeah.
Or 60%, 40% of my investment. And then after 5 years, if depending on the market graph, I'll sell it. So every scenario has its own in-depth reasoning with the buyer. So there's no one scenario which I can recommend that, okay, if you're a non-resident, buy now and sell in 2 years. Because again, I can't see the future.
Yeah.
If I could, then we would be at a horse track betting on horses if I could see the future. So all I can say is, the basic things which we all know, but I can just say is, don't go over the top, over your budget, because then you'll get into complications. And it doesn't take time for life situations to change. We're living in very unpredictable times as far as the rest of the world is concerned. Pandemics, a war here, a war there, things like that. Maybe suddenly something changes and you need equity, you need cash, but you've already gone over the top with your investment because some realtor told you, like, no, don't buy one studio, buy three, because I'll get you the
Yes.
rental
And that's
income.
actually something that's, I mean, some brokers
Yeah.
do.
And no doubt, all three of the studios are rented out, no doubt. And they
Yeah.
are bringing you income, no doubt.
Yes,
But all
yes.
I'm saying is, when you're entering a new market, when I was making my first purchase in the US, where my family is based, I didn't go out and about and
You
buy a
want to
villa.
test the waters first.
Exactly. We're used to villa living in Dubai, but
Yeah.
when my family was moving to the US, I told my wife, buy an apartment first. Don't go out for a grand villa immediately.
Yeah.
Let's buy an apartment, look at the costings, the taxes, let's look at the package, let's see how it goes for 3 years at least. And then you can upgrade. As long as you own a property and you're not paying someone else's mortgage,
Which is
it's
very
all good.
true.
So I would say the same thing to people in Dubai. But of course, every now and then, and you know this better than me, every now and then those, 10% major investors walk in and they want an entire floor and they want, an entire row of villas.
Yeah.
But that's just because they can park the capital for that much time.
Exactly. And they can afford to, I mean,
They're mostly leveraging from the bank's money. Let me also tell you that. Most of my clients now, let's talk about this year, we're almost at the end of 2023.
Yeah.
Majority of my clients who took mortgage facilities from my offices are not people who need mortgages because they don't have equity. They are people with a lot of equity, but they do not want to use their own
their
money.
own money.
They feel that it's
Interesting.
smarter to use the bank's money. It's okay if we're paying a little bit of interest, some charges here and there, but let's use the bank's money to test the waters that you just mentioned instead of putting their own equity. Very few are people who are actually like, I'm buying something for 2 million, but I only have 1 mil, so I need a million dirham. Most of my clients are super equity rich, but they've parked all their money in other investments or other, ghost investments. And when it comes to property, they go for mortgages.
I think that's actually very, very, very true. And that's what we would always advise our clients. Don't go overboard. Just do what you know that you can afford to. There's something my mom used to say is, if you want to buy something, property, whatever, make sure you can afford it 3 times before
Exactly,
you
yes.
eventually pay for it or before you
I read
eventually
that somewhere.
buy it. Exactly.
Maybe someone heard your mom and wrote it on the internet. I read that somewhere. I
Or
have.
maybe she read it
Yeah.
so much and she always says it
But
to
it
me
makes
like,
sense. Jokes apart.
make
it makes
sure
sense.
you can afford
Make
it.
sure you can afford it 3 times
3
around
times,
before
yes,
you buy it. Yes.
before you buy. And so you don't get yourself into a fix
Oh,
where you
absolutely.
cannot
Absolutely.
pay. Yes, that's actually
So
very
if you
true.
follow these simple golden rules of life, you can't go wrong with Dubai. Whether you're buying a property on cash or a mortgage. I'm not even going to sit over here and market my mortgages only. No doubt the market is full of cash buyers, who don't even come to get a mortgage.
Yeah.
But again, since you are referring back to non-residents a lot, the ideal non-resident would not like to put all his money in a new market.
Yes.
He would like to test the waters with at least 50% finance,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
And then he would, maybe the second or third time, he would buy full cash.
Okay.
Because that's what Dubai will bring him, the confidence.
I think the final question I would want to know, or I would want you to answer, would be: are there any resources available to residents or non-residents alike where they can just do their due diligence, or check on what we have said right now?
Okay.
Or just resources available to them to check on the products and things that we have mentioned right
So
now.
that's a good question. And again, I'm not going to specifically name any realtor company or a website because I'm not here to do that today.
Yeah.
But I'm here to just give you useful information.
Yes, please.
So I'll give you a bit of experience with this answer. So in the last 3 years, I traveled to about 6 major cities of the world, okay? Some business, some pleasure. But every time, whether it's business or pleasure, wherever I go, I make it a point to try to contact some local realtors, just to see the response time, just to see, attitude, aptitude, a lot of things. Just want to understand, because if you spend 15, 20 years in the Dubai real estate market, it only intrigues you to go to other countries and see how things work there,
Yeah.
right? So I contact realtors. I say I'm in town for a week. Maybe I'm looking at one bed or a studio. I'm an investor from Dubai. And I just want to see what your properties are like, what's the process, viewings, the whole jing bang process. And I also inquired about mortgages. Let me tell you the most basic plus point Dubai has, and you'll understand this only when you go through it. Our response time to inquiries. I haven't seen this response time in any part of the world. I'm telling you. I was in a major city last year with my family in winter, and it took 3 days for a realtor to actually call me back. After I called her mobile 2 or 3 times and left a text, after 3 days she called me back, and eventually in a week's time she arranged a viewing with us. And the mortgage guy could never meet with me. I
Oh,
called him two or
wow.
three times, but he was just too busy. Okay, let me tell you, no one is as busy as Dubai is right now.
Yeah.
This sort of fire, this sort of market that we're in right now, it's not anywhere in the world. Okay, and but the response time here is extraordinary.
Maybe because there's a lot of competition as well in Dubai.
Well, see, competition is healthy because it gives you a fire, it gives you a push to get out of the house in the morning and not sleep or sit and watch Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay, it inevitably gives your client better service.
Yeah.
Because you made 3 inquiries and all three called you back, and all three says I'm available for a viewing, or I'm available to at least give you a synopsis of what the market is like. Okay, so the response time in Dubai is amazing.
Yeah.
So obviously, any non-resident who wants to understand about the property market, we have a lot of major players. We have major websites here. It takes one click on the Google to understand. I mean, you put one query like properties in Dubai, and you might get 10 million responses. You know,
Yeah.
and just the first 10 are enough to give you all information. Similarly, it goes with mortgages. Fortunately, there aren't 10 million mortgage consultants. There's only a few hundreds of us, so we have a upper hand over there. But again, the response time in Dubai. This is what clients have told me. Some clients have said, "Well, I didn't expect that you would call me back today. I just sent you a message today, and you already sent me everything." And I'm like, "Why would I waste time? You want information? I have the information. Here you go."
And I think also, like, if you just check Dubai Land Department, I'm sure that
Yes, of
you
course.
can. The Dubai Land Department website just has a lot of information.
Very thorough, very
Yes.
thorough. In fact, 2 years ago, they also implemented that module where they give you a sort of a history on the pricing, what X, Y, Z, how much it was sold for in the last
Yes.
1 month, 3 months. I
Yes,
mean, that's
yes,
just amazing. I didn't
yes.
see that anywhere else. Maybe it exists. I'm not going to talk like I know everything about everything, but I haven't seen it. But Dubai Land Department website is enough to put confidence in a buyer. To look at it and say, okay, hey, this is a great guideline. Now let's contact some of these certified agents like Halimat.
So yes, please contact Ramosh Real Estates. We are available. Our response time is good. And then if you want further consultation, or if you just want to, if you have extra questions, we would gladly link you up with Mr. Kuram, and he would walk you through the mortgage process and just how to help you. He's tested, trusted. I mean, bet that you get one of the most amazing services. The first time I spoke to Mr. Kuram, he responded to me in less than 3 minutes. And for every time that I've dropped a message or called, his response time is amazing. For someone that is this busy, I mean, his response time is really amazing. And if he doesn't pick immediately, he calls you back. He's very polite. I'm selling you here.
You're too kind.
So
You're too
yes,
kind.
I mean, response time. And if you have further questions and you just feel like you want to get directly from the Dubai government, the Dubai Land Department website is available to everybody, dubailand.gov.ae, and you can just check on all the questions that you have. It's been really insightful speaking to you. It's been a very amazing
Thank
time.
you very much.
I cannot wait to start to refer the clients to you and say, okay, you know what, Mr. Kuram, these are the mortgage clients.
Be
Please
my guest.
help
Most
them.
welcome, and I'll be happy to have another session sometime to get into more details.
Yes.
About more financial details, and more technical details about the mortgage, things like that.
I'm hoping that after we post this episode, we would have a lot of questions, and then we can schedule another one where we are strictly just answering questions for some of these people. So yes, thank you guys so
Precisely.
much.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you
Thank you,
again in our
Halimat.
next episode.
And thanks to
Thank
everybody
you
who's
so much.
watching. Okay. And good luck.
And so just before we go,
Sure.
because our firm really is Afrocentric, we say that we represent not just Afrocentric, but we like to say that we represent the Africans.
Sure.
I would like to teach you something in Kenyan.
Please do.
And saying thank you in Kenyan. So thank you for coming, but in
Most
Kenyan
welcome.
is Asante Sana.
Right. You're most welcome, and I'm going to reply in half Kenyan, half English. Most welcome, Sana. That's all I could say for now. It's been my pleasure. I'm very
Asante
happy.
Sana, thank you so much for coming
Yes,
on this
it's been a pleasure.
episode.
Sure.
And we look forward to having you here again.
Absolutely.
All right.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
guys for watching. Asante Sana. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.